I'm in love with the young.
It's about love. Overcoming all obstacles.
It was a risky reinvention of the classic Hollywood musical. It pushed its stars to reveal talents never before shown on screen.
I would be called upon to sing like an angel and dance like the devil.
And it forced a visionary director to go against all odds and breathe new life into a fading film genre.
We had many personal tragedies. It was extraordinarily difficult.
A fearless filmmaker, a trouble-plagued set, and a studio's daring leap of faith. On Backstory, Moulin Rouge.
I'm in love with a young, handsome, talented Duke.
Duke.
Not that the title's important, of course.
Not a Duke.
Not a Duke.
Am I right?
A writer.
Released in 2001, the movie musical Moulin Rouge was a lush, sensory extravaganza set in the most legendary night spot in Paris.
Moulin Rouge, a kingdom of nighttime pleasures, where the rich and powerful came to play with the young and beautiful creatures of the underworld.
It was kind of like your dreams can come true in this place. You can be debauched, you can be crazy, you can have whatever you want.
Within this wild bohemian underworld, director and co-writer Baz Luhrmann told a simple and tragic love story about a penniless poet named Christian and the Moulin Rouge's beautiful star and head courtesan.
Baz took me on a journey with Christian from a very naive, innocent guy.
Still hurt me to think that you could fall in love with someone like me.
To a man whose world had fallen apart. I had no idea the depth of emotion that would be required of me. I had no idea he would drag me down so low, you know?
Like his hero's odyssey, Baz Luhrmann would also go on his own, often painful crusade while making Moulin Rouge.
There's a reason why they don't make those old musicals. One of them is they're just so hard to make. The labor is phenomenal. Not only do those actors have to sing and dance and die, they have to do it in incredible costumes.
The journey began in 1998, when Australian filmmaker Baz Luhrmann decided to follow the success of his first two movies, Strictly Ballroom and Romeo and Juliet, by taking on a lifelong dream, directing a big-screen musical. But Baz's idea of mixing comedy, tunes, and tragedy was a much tougher sell to a modern studio. Almost all movie musicals of the last 30 years had been dismal commercial failures.
By the time I went to Moulin Rouge, nobody went like, yee-haw, you know? It's like, you know, let's put a new wing on the studio.
The show will be a magnificent, opulent, tremendous, stupendous, gargantuan bedazzlement.
Baz pitches are an experience in and of themselves because they tend to be an escalating series of impossibilities.
So exciting, so delighting, it was the 50 years, so exciting, so delighting, it was the 50 years.
It's really less about the project than the filmmaker. And the basic decision in truth that you make to make a movie with an artist like Baz is to back Baz's vision.
Generally, I like it.
In the end, Baz's song and dance convinced executives at 20th Century Fox to roll the dice.
Fade in.
And as pre-production began, so did Luhrmann's search to find a cinematic language to put his vision across.
The Moulin Rouge just became a great metaphorical underworld for our Christian character to journey into. We eventually settled on Paris, 1900, Montmartre, Moulin Rouge, because we felt that was a reflection of the time that we were living in. The world was moving forward into a new time and backward into an old time. Here's about a deceased courtesan's estate, right?
With his basic story in place, Luhrmann assembled his key collaborators, co-writer Craig Pearce and costume and production designer Catherine Martin, who was also Baz's wife. Together, the team headed off on a high-spirited research trip to Paris.
Off we go. Immense research for months in Paris, going through the history of the musical, going through the history of Montmartre, the history of the Moulin Rouge, so that every truth, if you like, is in our blood.
Baz talked about accessing the excitement, the sexiness, the incredible eclectic fin de siècle Paris. We had to create a world of entertainment under women's dresses because that was the point of the can-can. Basically, women wore split knickers. So when you kicked your legs in the air, you got your money's worth. And sometimes they didn't even wear any underpants at all. In a PG-13 film, you had to find a way of translating that idea of the revelation when you lifted up your skirt. So Baz kept describing that what he imagined when you saw that wall of petticoats coming towards you was like a coral reef filled with tropical fishes.
The can-can was, in truth, in 1900, a wild, sexy, outrageous, violent dance. That's the truth. For them, it was the equivalent at being at the most, hardcore techno-rabel club.
To capture the heady excitement of the Moulin Rouge, Luhrmann and his collaborators blended modern pop, rock, techno, opera, and Broadway show tunes spanning the entire 20th century. Their only rule was that every song had to help tell the story.
You had to scan hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces of music to find the right song to tell the right piece of story. Christian has a gift. His poetry had to be genius. Well, what if every time he opens his mouth, it was Lennon and McCartney, or it was Elton John?
But finding the right stars to sing those songs was an even more daunting challenge. 2 years earlier, in 1996, Luhrmann had been dazzled by Scottish-born actor Ewan McGregor when he auditioned for Romeo and Juliet. In the 2 years since, McGregor had risen from promising newcomer to major movie star.
Baz remembered that audition. So when Moulin Rouge came along, he told me what he wanted to try and achieve. I was like, where do I sign to get me on this picture, you know? And that was it.
For his leading lady, Luhrmann needed an actress who was part male fantasy, part girl next door, and who could also sing and dance. By March 1999, Luhrmann had made his choice. Fellow Australian Nicole Kidman.
I believe you are expecting me.
Yes. If someone said to me, we have this musical, do you want to be in it? I would have said no. But when I heard that Baz Luhrmann was making a musical, I thought, oh, this is interesting. And obviously then I had to go and audition for him.
Long before filming, the star set off for Luhrmann's production company in Sydney, Australia. There, the actors underwent nearly 5 months of script workshopping, vocal coaching, dance rehearsals, and recording.
That's very unusual in a day now where actors tend to commit for their 12 weeks and then they go. This was an intense rehearsal process. This movie was able to be made because they took the economic risk with us and were willing to forego their usual upfront fees.
So we're going to sing a love song.
But near the end of those grueling rehearsals, the production was hit by its first misfortune when Nicole Kidman suffered a painful injury.
I would like to take credit for breaking Nicole's rib. During this repetitive dance training, we had to practice these lifts a lot. And Nicole's rib, it was a stress fracture.
All these silly costumes.
Luhrmann pushed filming back, but it wouldn't be the last time the music stopped on a production as dramatic as the Moulin Rouge itself. When Backstory returns, a director faces personal tragedy, and an accident on the set leads to another production crisis.